Anyway, we got a movie to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we watched Evil Dead Rise. I realized last week we didn't recap the plot too much.
Well, I mean, on its surface, the plot of Evil Dead doesn't change all that much.
Apparently not, is what I'm finding out.
Yeah, it's what you do within that frame that matters.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Evil Dead Rise, it's the latest in this long-running series. It's another one of my favorites in the series, and coincidentally or not, it does not involve Bruce Campbell.
He was in this one though.
Did I miss another credit scene?
No. But he was in it.
Where? When?
He is apparently one of the guys on the audio recording.
Oh, okay. So you don't physically see him. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I would have had no idea if I didn't read it on Wikipedia after the fact.
I think this is a movie that I was really impressed with, and the thing I didn't like about it was the turntables. I just could have done without the turntables.
You're gonna think I'm like nitpicky again.
Okay.
But the mechanics of it bothered me.
Do they make no sense? I feel like they make no sense.
They made no sense.
Yeah.
Because so there are these it's a callback to the original Evil Dead, where they get all the lore dumping information about the Book of the Dead through tapes, because that movie was from the 70s. And now people listen to music on vinyl again.
No, well, I mean, not really though. And it's like, it was weird because this movie felt like it wanted to do something with modern technology. Like it had the opening scene that involved a
oh god, don't get me started with that shit.
A drone, and then you had like some cell phone stuff. Like it scattered technology throughout, but then the turntable thing just felt really weird and out of place.
Yeah, so I think I think it was a smart way to sort of bridge the fact that these recordings would be ancient. And not like ancient, but old as shit. And bridging the fact that they would need to be played by, I guess, Gen Alpha at this point. And so the fact that people collect vinyl again and do play vinyl again, they were able to bridge that. My issue with that is the mechanics of playing the records themselves.
Yeah, and I actually am not going to call you nitpicky here because it's such a front and center thing, and they spend so much time doing that mechanic.
Yeah.
Like minutes.
So
that it's such a glaring, silly thing. So I agree with you.
So yeah, so they play the records, but they're backwards. Or it wasn't clear. Okay, here's the thing. It wasn't clear if they were backwards or they weren't playing them at the right speed. So what they do in order to hear what is on the recordings properly is they turn them manually by hand on the turntable. And I have an issue with this because if they're backwards, they're spinning them the wrong way. For starters, they're spinning them the wrong way. And if they're at the wrong speed, then you adjust your turntable and play them at the correct speed, and you don't have to do it manually. So that is my issue.
Well, I also have an issue of one of the main characters putting on some pretty good noise-canceling headphones while there's a demon running rampant throughout the apartment.
Yes, whenever they previously listened to the record through very high quality mounted
yeah it's like, how do you live with that
system.
By the way?
Yeah,
that would
and
be
so
banned from my household if that was my child.
Yeah, so the fact that they were now using headphones to listen to the recording was weird. Also, whenever I don't know why we're really talking about the records for this much, but the fact that they needed to after at a certain point the power goes out, so there's no power, but they need to hear the record again. And so they need to jerry-rig a way to hear the records. And instead of just, like, setting up the record player and the speakers or whatever, they set up, like, all of the equipment that they didn't need to, including, like, the meters and shit. And it's like, why did you need all that? You just needed the turntable and the phono out and, like...
Okay, so I'm no longer on board. You're getting a little too carried away now.
No, like that's way more power than you needed to just turn the record and the speakers. Like those are like what, 8 ohm speakers?
Okay, I don't know.
Like you don't need that much power in order to like drive all that shit. But then if you hook up all that other shit, like the meters, the mixer, like all of that other shit is more power. Okay.
Wait, what does energy conservation have anything to do? Like, why does that matter?
It was harder to set that up.
Okay.
Than just setting up the turntable, and the speakers.
But what if she really just wanted to feel like a true DJ?
She apparently did because she put the headphones
She put
on.
the headphones on. She was really in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we should probably talk about the
actually
actual fucking movie.
Love this movie.
Really?
I did. I thought it was really good.
Really?
I thought it was terrific. It's like structured very similarly to Evil Dead 2013 that we talked about last week, except
yes.
It's a family, which I like more than just the frat bros in the woods dynamic. It just adds, like, you care more about these characters, or at least I cared more about these characters than I would the shitty...
Where were the frat bros?
Whatever you want to call them. I don't know. Just like your typical college age buds hanging out in the woods, right? I mean, I just call everybody at that age a frat bro. That's just me.
Okay.
But I thought the ensemble here was more interesting in terms of them as characters and people. And
really?
Yeah, no, I did. And I thought the kills and the gore was all like top notch, like pretty inventive and creative.
Again, I say really?
Yeah, no, I do. I thought like there was some really cool use of like the apartment layout and complex. We're going to talk once again about the tree scene because they sort of transplanted that indoors inside of an elevator and made it much less sexual this time, which like cool. Like we don't need to have this at all. But we're getting to a point where it's like almost acceptable, but not really. I don't know. They just need to stop. If they keep making Evil Dead movies, they don't need to do this every time.
So they returned it instead of it being like we talked about in 2013, where it just became a violation of somebody's body. It was now back to bondage.
Yeah.
Also, just there was so much feet stuff.
Wait, was there a lot of feet stuff?
Yeah.
Well, people were walking on glass and stuff.
They show the mom's feet so many times.
Are you sure that's not a fixation? Because I really didn't pick up on this.
They do. Like especially in that elevator scene where she's like gripping the walls and shit with her feet.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's bound by all of her limbs, right? She's being like twisted.
They didn't need to zoom in.
Okay.
There's a lot of feet stuff. Felt like I was watching a Nickelodeon show from the 2000s.
Or a Tarantino film, one of the two.
That too, yeah.
But no, so feet aside and turntable aside, I really thought this was effective. I thought the mother, I forget the character's name, when when Ellie gets possessed, and throughout the rest of the film, I don't know, something about possession movies, it's just hard to make them truly unsettling and creepy, at least for an extended amount of time. But I thought that entity, that possessed person as the mother of these children and sister and everything that was going on there was just like very effective. I just thought it was such a cool possession, and just like the facial expressions and the tone of it, just everything was like really effective for me. And then you get into like the actual like gore and stuff that's going on. Like there's one scene in particular where you watch one character swallow shards of glass and you're seeing it go down the inside of her throat, and then like that transitions right into a character getting like her leg torn up by a cheese grater.
That was the only one that was like, yeah, okay.
And then immediately after that, another character gets this like, I don't even know what you call it. It's the baby head that's been broken and is now like has like they had a name for it. I'm forgetting the name for it. It was a cool name too.
Staffney
instead of Stephanie.
I think instead of Daphne.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
But that went right through this character's mouth and outside the back of her skull, and it was just brutal. And that was all in like a 30-second sequence, those three things. It was just like it didn't hold anything back. And then you have like the elevator full of blood, and you have like the landscaping truck just grinding up the huge like monstrosity. And by the way, I think this movie corrected a big complaint you had last with Evil Dead 2013, which is that the final monster, the form of it just wasn't all that intimidating and didn't feel very like it just didn't feel that dangerous. Whereas this thing was like this monstrosity of like all parts of like various tenants of this complex that had been possessed, and it's just like stalking the woman and the child throughout this parking garage. It was very effective for me.
Yes, I have one issue with the creature at the end though. So it is this imposing thing that's stalking them. It has quite a bit of strength, right?
Sure.
Why did it need the chainsaw to cut open the little girl's head?
Because chainsaws
it could have just done that on its own.
Important to the Evil Dead franchise.
But why did the monster need the chainsaw?
For effect.
It was Goofy.
Okay.
The monster did not need the chainsaw.
The
chainsaw could be there.
I'm never going to turn down a monster chainsaw. I feel like a monster with a chainsaw is better than a monster without a chainsaw.
I disagree. I disagree. The monster could have popped open that kid like a can of Pringles. Why did it need the chainsaw to do it?
Mm-hmm. I see your argument here more so than the energy consumption problem when it comes to the turntables. Sure. So like I get this more so. I just thought that was like such a cool visual, that monster. And then you throw in a chainsaw. It's like, yeah, sure. It's Evil Dead. It's Evil Dead.
Yeah. I don't have an issue with the chainsaw being there, especially because there's just, for whatever reason, a wood chipper in the bottom of a concrete basement.
Well, it's a landscaping company.
Yeah. Sure, fine. Like, yeah, there could be a chainsaw there. I don't have an issue with the chainsaw being there. I have an issue with the monster attempting to use the chainsaw. It doesn't need it.
No, it wanted it, though. Didn't need it, just wanted it.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Like, to me, this, like, there wasn't really much tension.
No, because it's all out. It just goes all out for like the final like hour. It's just nonstop. Like there doesn't need to be tension when everything is so over the top.
Like that, yeah, that's the other thing. Like I didn't know how like straight it wanted to play it is the thing. Like you have like Goofy Evil Dead, and then you have 2013, and then this is like sometimes it tries to bounce between the two.
A little bit, and I think it kind of works though, because the thing that came to mind for me,
the eyeball.
Well. No, but yeah, that was also very cool. Well, no, that was
silly. That was just straight up silly.
She spits the eyeball into like the mouth of another character, right? Yeah, tears it off one guy's face and spits it into the mouth of another character.
Yeah, and he does like a fucking like cartoon. He makes like a cartoon face when he eats the eyeball.
Yeah, but like,
and then he's like never seen again. That one?
Maybe. It's hard to keep track of some of those periphery characters.
Yeah, they were just kind of unnecessary.
A little bit, but aren't our neighbors usually.
Yeah.
No, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, like there was this whole sequence where characters looking through a peephole, and there's just like this like really over the top, just like stuff happening in the hallway. So like it's not the only example of that type of like.
Yeah, that was like Scooby-Doo-esque.
A little bit. I don't know if this tracks for you, but like I'm watching this play out, and there's like a lot of stuff happening environmentally. Like there's the bathtub scene in particular where she like rises out of it and like stuff's happening all around her and stuff. It felt like if Amblin had taken on Evil Dead. It felt a little like a Spielberg like poltergeisty like Amblin type thing.
This had a bit of the it factor going on.
Yeah. So like that,
which I don't like. It was it like got a little Stranger Things.
But that's cool when it's in the context of like massive Evil Dead. Like that just works for me.
Like, but the issue for me, and this is why I say there was like no tension, and it was just like, it was just kind of dull for me.
Dull, really? So you have this possessed mother that's like hunting her children around their apartment, and they're fighting for their lives. There's no tension there for you? Oh my goodness.
No, because it was like, because my whole question was like, okay, because we're about halfway through the movie. I'm like, okay, are they gonna hurt the kids or not? Then when they hurt the kids, Christ. No, because I need to know the rules. I need to know the rules here. What's at play? What's at play here?
So you can't just watch a movie, can you?
What are you talking about?
You can't just watch a movie.
This is me thinking about the movie as I'm watching it. What do you want from me?
No, because you're like going from like the writing perspective. Like these are the rules.
Yeah, this is what I do.
You just gotta let it play out.
Like so let me do my thing.
Okay.
All right. So like, what are the rules? What's at play here? Can the kids be hurt? And once the kids were hurt, I'm like, okay, I know how this is going to go. The little one's going to be the last one. And then, so it loses its teeth. So...
Yeah, but is that not like, every, like, slasher movie ever? Like, there's going to be a final person, and you're just watching everyone else get taken down? But for me, this felt more high stakes, because it's literally, like, this
possessed... No, there's no stakes. Don't say that.
Possessed mother that's taking out her children and sister, and you have the whole, like, pregnancy angle.
No stakes. Yeah, okay, so let me talk about the pregnancy thing.
Okay.
That is the worst fucking trope. This whole story of like a woman who like doesn't have kids, has to take care of somebody else's kids, but she's pregnant too, and she has to figure out whether she's going to keep it or not, and through some kind of traumatic event decides that she's going to keep it. is like the worst, most hackneyed shit.
I don't know if it was her deciding whether she should keep it. I mean, initially she was, but it was more about her believing in her own ability to be a mother. And I think also...
regardless.
No, there's more to that too, because her sister was also down on her as well. Like they were estranged going into this movie, and they had personal stuff, right? And so like the fact that you have the possessed sister now, like sniffing out the pregnancy and being like, oh, there's two souls in here that I can like just like annihilate instead of like, that's just all very effective to me.
No. It was hackneyed. It was not good. Like it just like boiled down to like the only thing a woman is good for is being a mother kind of shit.
Not even close. Like I sniff out that kind of thing. We've talked about that plenty of times.
When the little girl like on Christmas morning goes, "You would make a good mother." Like that whole shit. Oh my God. Awful.
All right. That moment was a little rough.
Awful.
That moment was a little rough. I'm not going to argue that. when you have in the middle of all this like chaos and like gore and crazy stuff that's happening, when you have the characters take a moment to be like sappy like that, that's a little rough.
Yeah.
That's a little rough.
Yeah,
but luckily it just didn't happen much. There was like maybe one other moment like that.
Yeah. And it was also like, you're just like signal. Like it was like, it's going to be you and it's going to be the little kid. And like, that's going to be the whole thing. Like, and you're going to keep your kid and that's how it's going to be. Like I saw the whole thing an hour in, less than, I guess. Yeah. Cause it was only like an hour and a half.
Yeah. But you're making it sound like this entire arc for her was like about whether she should keep this pregnancy. Whereas that was more...
It was
a factor, but it wasn't everything. Like there was this whole family dynamic. It was because she's the whole thing.
On. Oh, I'm about to be lead tech, and so I can't settle down and all that shit. It was the same old story like that. Been done.
I will say Evil Dead 2013 was a lot smarter right off the bat in framing it around the whole drug addiction angle.
This movie made me appreciate that one so much more. Holy God.
No, see, I think they're similar in quality. I think they're both like really effective in what they're going for. I just think each has its strengths, but like I think you're boiling this movie down in a way that's doesn't quite deserve. I don't think it's that one note as you make it seem. Like, yeah, give me this family dynamic over the buddies in the forest just drinking and having a good time. Like that's just more interesting to me. Like this cast was more interesting,
right? But like that was drinking and having a good time was the first one, right?
Yeah.
The original, and they do that for maybe 15 minutes, and in 2013 they don't do that because they're trying to make somebody quit drugs cold turkey.
Yes, which is very wise, and adds a lot more to the movie.
So, and then you go to like this like Mike Flanagan, sort of shit.
It's a little Poltergeist, it's a little Mike Flanagan, and then it's a little Evil Dead as well on top of. So it's like,
yeah. But then you're saying like this family, like there's only one like family dynamic, and it's that the mother has now turned, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, but that's enough.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter what these characters were. It could have been like, like they could have had a terrible relationship with their mother, and the fact that she turned.
I guess my point is the characters have never been the focus or the strength of Evil Dead.
But they were in the 2013 one.
Well, one of them was.
Oh, yeah. Here, they're none of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't agree.
Okay.
This one worked for me. This one worked for me on a few different levels. I thought it was... I was pleasantly surprised.
Also, the color grading was bad. It was too dark. I hate movies like that.
I mean, it's a stormy overnight.
Don't give me that. You know what I'm talking about.
In a rundown apartment complex.
You know what I'm talking about.
I thought it was visually really interesting.
You should be able to see what is going on.
Oh,
I
had no problem with that.
I watched an HDR copy on a very good screen.
Well, HDR copies tend to be, depending on the screen, tend to be darker.
But they also tend to be bright. Like that's the whole thing.
Right. The darks are darker, the brights are brighter.
Yeah. So, okay, fine. Well, then their HDR version was
yeah, I had not for a second did I have trouble seeing exactly what was happening.
Yeah, there was a lot of muddy darks in there.
Yeah, see, that might have been your copy.
I guess so.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought this was pretty darn good. I'm not trying to take Evil Dead too seriously, except for 2013, which I feel like it kind of earned that.
Yeah,
it did earn it. And 2013 is a superior movie for sure. I'm not trying to like get too carried away here, but like I did enjoy this one quite a bit.
I think another part of my issue is that this week I also rewatched The Exorcist.
The original.
The original.
Okay.
And
an all-time possession movie.
An all-time possession movie. An all-time movie.
Maybe the all-time possession movie. Yeah.
Yeah. And to go from that to this.
Well, that's just so unfair.
No, because like you talk about like sort of like the shock value of horror movies, and like basically The Exorcist started it, right? Where you have somebody that's possessed by a demon, and so then they just start saying the most off-the-wall, heinous, horrific things. I still don't think anything has ever topped like how that's presented in The Exorcist.
Okay.
Like at all. So like whenever you go here and then it's just like where the demon through the mom just says, "Oh, you're just a bunch of titty sucking whatever." It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. You know? It's like it doesn't have that bite to it.
See, I thought the possessed mother was really cool throughohout.
No, because then it's
just
gonna
fucking with everybody.
It's gonna try to trick the kids into thinking that it's the mother again. It's like I've seen all this.
Yeah, but it's Evil Dead.
Yeah,
this
I know,
is just
but
how
like,
horror sequels work. This is just they have to retread, and so all you can hope for is like a fun, interesting version of that, which I feel like this was.
I got bored.
Yeah,
I got bored.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly seen horror sequels where I felt the same way you did. It's just this one didn't feel that way for me. It was like I was engaged throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
Also, this was the coolest that the book has ever looked.
I was gonna say, yeah, that the book itself probably had the best art in it.
Yes, the art in it, the construction of it, the like lock of it with those like what do you even call those? Like were they like claws?
They're like needles.
Like yeah. Like really like old looking.
And also the art in the book didn't completely signal every single thing that would happen, which was my issue with the book in 2013.
Well, see, with Evil Dead, my eyes kind of glaze over when they start getting into the lore. It's like I know you got to do.
Oh yeah,
I know you got to
like,
do it, but like keep it
like,
to a minimum.
Listening to those records or whatever,
Awful.
like I didn't really give a shit.
Yeah, just awful.
What was being said.
Why is Bruce Campbell a priest now? I don't understand. Is it supposed to be in canon, or is this just him doing his cameo?
No. So he wasn't even the priest. He was one of the guys that yells at the priest in the first record.
Okay.
And so it's actually such bullshit. I have to read the direct quote of the reasoning for it. Because they can't just have a cameo. It can't be. Because nothing is allowed to just be that anymore.
And was there, while you're looking for that, was there a post-credit scene? Because I did not stay for it.
If there was, I did not.
I did like the wraparound of ending with how it started.
Okay, I didn't.
You didn't? Because it's like, how did she not hear all that in her apartment? Is that what you're going to say?
That thing. Yeah, sure. No, I'm not even going to get into like the technical aspects of it.
Yeah.
Because you could cut out those bookends and it changes nothing about the movie.
Yeah, but
at all.
Okay, fair. So like in 2013, I liked the opening because it signaled the choices that the characters would have to go through.
I appreciate that more now because it set the tone for the rest of the movie.
It set the tone. It had the stakes right there in your face right away.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was just wholly unnecessary.
No, I agree with that. I mean,
which is what I said before. I'll take that back now. This was just whatever, a waste of 5 minutes.
Bit of a throwaway, yeah. Was it still effective for me in terms of horror? Yeah.
Yeah, I was more into what was going on there than I was the rest of the movie. Like the beginning part, because it was like, okay, here's the setup. Here, they're at a cabin, blah blah blah. Girl gets her scalp ripped off. It's like, okay, all right, yeah.
I wanted the visual of the title in the background while she rises out of the water is also really good.
Yeah, that was a little on the nose for me.
It's Evil Dead.
I know. But I wanted to see the drone cut that guy's head off.
Yeah, didn't we all?
Yeah, and I didn't get it. But like the whole purpose of it really is not to like bookend or whatever. It was to just do a fake out and say, oh no, this one's not at a cabin.
That's true.
That was it.
That's true.
But anyway, yeah, this Bruce Campbell shit is featured in an uncredited voice-only cameo role heard in a recording on one of the phonograph records from 1923. Voices an unnamed character who forewarns the priests to the dangers of the demon resurrection ritual and demands they destroy the book. Writer-director Cronin stated that he had Campbell voice this role intentionally, stating that he considers it to be a time-displaced Ash Williams.
So I know I asked you specifically this question and you answered it perfectly for me. I've never cared less about anything in my life.
like whatever. Okay, fine. It's like I'm sure that's great for the people that are super invested in this series and watch the TV show and love all that shit. But like, I don't care about franchise shit anymore.
No.
I just, like, if I didn't look at this Wikipedia page after I watched the movie, I would have had no fucking clue at all. And that's fine, because it's supposed to be a cameo. But the fact that you're saying, oh no, it's canon, he's time displaced, all this shit, whatever, fuck off. Yeah.
All right, so I guess you're 1 for 2 on these 2 Evil Deads. I'm 2 for 2 because I did like it quite a bit. I'm gonna stand by that. I don't know, just like, how do you not like? Did you not like the elevator full of blood and then it spills out into the parking garage and you have that whole following? Like, that's just all good stuff.
It was fine. Like, I don't know, it's fine. Like, what do you want me to say? That The Shining is better? Like, of course, you know, like.
Well, you've already compared it to Exorcist, so you might as well.
Okay, but that's a closer one because that's demonic possession.
Yeah, true.
But it's just hard to be like, and this is an issue that I have not even only with this movie, but like basically anything that sort of like apes The Exorcist after the fact, is that like that is still the high mark for like a little girl just like saying the most grotesque things ever.
Sure,
you know?
Sure.
Where she's talking about like, oh, your mother's getting ass fucked in hell.
Okay, but there's
like,
something
like
something to be said.
That was in the 70s.
There's something to be said though for the for Ellie walking around the apartment just like toying with everybody, saying like, who am I going to target next? And these kids holding on to some bit of hope that their mother is still inside there, even though they know deep down that she's not, but they also can't bring themselves to like fully believe that. And there's just that whole dynamic that I thought worked really well in this movie. And is it a bit predictable? Sure. Like, of course, the youngest is going to be more susceptible to this, and she's going to try and let her back in the apartment. And she's going to be the one that gets toyed with the most, and you're going to have that happen. But I just thought, like, Ellie's whole, like, the way that the possessed mother walked and talked and just, like, was just, like, so ruthless throughout the whole thing. I just liked it. I thought it was effective.
Okay, so then what were the demons' purpose? Other than to fuck with them.
I mean, hasn't that always been Evil Dead, though?
No. Like in the first one and in 2013, they're trying to do this whole summoning. They're trying to get the, you know, bring them all in.
Well, I'm sure they said it on the tapes somewhere. I just kind of zoned out, though.
Here they're just kind of like fucking around, you know? Like they're just...
Well, it's like, it's late night. Like, what else is going on? It's a storm. You can't go out. You know, you're just having some fun. They're stuck in this rundown apartment complex. Nobody's going anywhere. You got plenty of time, you know?
No, they only had until dawn or whatever, which they kept saying for some reason.
No, they were not. They were not repeating the title of that video game. They were saying everyone dies at dawn, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, everyone dies at dawn. And so the reason why I looked at the Wikipedia for this movie was I was like, oh, was this a script for a different horror movie called like Everyone Dies at Dawn or something? And then they just turned it into an Evil Dead movie. That was the only reason why I went to the Wikipedia page, because normally I don't. That was literally the moment that made me do it.
I don't know. I thought it was a cool line.
It was fine. I don't have an issue with it, but I was just like, hey, was this originally an Evil Dead movie? Or did it just get like, you know, stamp of approval? Like, was there just like a script lying around?
No, I think I don't think there's any doubt. There's no doubt in my mind that this was from the start an Evil Dead movie.
And yeah, no, it was. But like, that was just like, because that just felt like a title drop to me. Yeah. Like, that's the title of a movie. Everybody dies at dawn.
Well, that's a terrible title, but also that goes in line with what we were saying last week about how many bad horror titles there are.
Right. No, that's what I mean.
I actually think Evil Dead Rise is a pretty bad title as well.
It is.
So
that's why I think the whole that thing at the beginning is just lame. But anyway,
I don't know. Maybe I'm just like a sucker for these movies. Could just be that. Could be as simple as that.
Maybe.
Although I still think I'm not even that big a fan of the original Evil Dead. I would put this one above the original Evil Dead still.
So that's a harder comparison than
2013,
the original and 2013.
Yeah.
Isn't it like that? Isn't that funny how that like feels? Like you can compare the original and 2013.
Yeah.
And you could pretty reasonably compare 2013 and this.
But
this to the original, there's like a disconnect.
Yeah. And I think part of that comes in with the mixture of tones and what it's going for.
Yeah.
So I'd probably rewatch this down the line. There's just a lot of like cool, gory stuff that happens. I like how extreme it is.
It felt a little tame in comparison to 2013, though, you know?
I don't know.
2013, you got people that are literally cutting off their own limbs with electric...
Yeah, there's a lot more self-harm in 2013.
Yeah.
Whereas this one,
like
it's
the 2013 bathroom scene.
Sure. Oh yeah.
You know, like the only one for me was the cheese grater.
The cheese grater. I mean, the swallowing shards of glass was something else.
Oh, that's been done. I've seen that.
Just the head in the meat, not the meat grinder. That's Halloween. The landscaping grinder thing where the creature is getting eviscerated, and then it's just the head at the end that talks. Very good. It's just very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the head's still just hurling insults and trying to do whatever it can to stay alive. I just really like that. There's just a lot of little moments for me in this one. And of course, Danny is the character who finds the book and opens the book, and just in the tradition of Evil Dead movies, has to be the most annoying.
Oh, of course,
because they're the one that's at fault. And I like that this movie just addresses that up front, because Danny's sibling is like, this is all your fault, right? So I appreciated that too. I don't know. I was into it. It was a fun hour and a half. An Evil Dead movie should never eclipse an hour and a half.
Oh yeah,
ever.
Yeah.
Because if it does, then you have a problem. I haven't seen Ash versus Evil Dead. People seem to really like it. I don't know how you make a TV series out of this concept. Like I said, I haven't seen it. I'm not going to bash something I haven't seen, but like, I'd be interested to see how you make a TV series out of this whole deal.
I think it's because Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are just so fucking different.
So different, right? Yeah.
Those are like comedies.
For sure. Yeah, that's a big difference here.
But yeah, I guess you should get ready though, because there's going to be one of these every 2 to 3 years apparently. So
same director?
No, just an Evil Dead movie every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I'll watch them.
Yeah, they said if this one was successful and it was the highest grossing movie in the franchise.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think that speaks more to the fact that there's no movies anymore.
True.
That like reach the theater.
True.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that like, people shouldn't have seen it in the theater, but just like, what are you going to see?
Yeah. There's a lot of movies this summer and early into the fall that are getting pretty wide theatrical releases that normally wouldn't, because there's just a lack. There's a lack of stuff, which is cool if you're like looking to see more niche films in the theater. They're more accessible. I don't know how long that's going to last. With one strike having ended and another one still going, but probably going to see a conclusion at some point in the near future. But yeah, I mean, I'd recommend this. I know you wouldn't, but
yeah, not really. Go watch The Exorcist.
Well, of course. I mean, any day of the week.
No, yeah, it's still so fucking good.
I know.
It's
the last time I saw it was after the big twist in season 1 of the Exorcist TV show. Where I'm like, okay, it's time to revisit. And that was just a few years ago. Like, that wasn't that long ago, and it still holds up so well.
Yeah, because it's just a drama until the last 15 minutes.
Yes.
Where then it's a horror movie.
Are we covering The Exorcist Believer when that's on streaming? No. Okay, good.
No.
Good.
No. I told you like before, because you were going to see it.
Did not happen.
And I was like, that looks like shit.
Yeah. Turns
that
out.
Looks terrible.
Turns out, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, the Halloween trilogy that we covered last year, this is the same director, same like team.
Right.
I liked parts of the Halloween trilogy. The first of the 3 was probably the strongest, just because it played things pretty straight. Did not leave me by the end of that with much confidence for them to cover a different IP, especially something like The Exorcist.
Right.
So
something that doesn't need to be franchised.
Not at all. The TV show felt like a miracle.
Right.
So.
And then got canceled.
Yeah.
Early. So, but yeah, so